Hello and welcome to this episode of the Ranting Atheist podcast. Today, we'll be listening to a recording from the Clubhouse archives. And this is a continuation of the room that was a question titled, Christianity is not a religion. You know, Christians nowadays like to separate religion from Christianity and say Christianity is a way of life, it's a lifestyle, because for some reason they realize that there are a lot of bad things in religion. But in order to save their faith, they need to separate Christianity from religion. But we know it's all bullshit. So we continue. This is a continuation of the discussion we had that day. And as usual, we had those opposing and those against, and different funny and great ideas shared. So if you are yet to subscribe, please consider subscribing on Apple, Spotify, Google, and other places where podcasts are available. And now let's go and listen to the second part of the Clubhouse room that was titled, Christianity is not a religion.
Yeah, all right. Thank you. Sorry. Okay. So, Azili, you said you wanted to ask Ifedolapo or something the other time.
Yeah, I was saying. You said no. I had said what I wanted to say then. I was going to say to Mikey here that religious following in that instance is used very loosely, because for something to be a religion, it has to be founded on a superhuman order. But as long as there is no superhuman order, it is not strictly a religion. It's just one of these words that, we've used so much that we just use it for other things as well. It's too loose. It's too loose a definition to actually say we could have some kind of atheistic religion. As far as there is no superhuman order, it will not be a religion.
All right, thank you.
Sorry, Jen. I think that's an interesting take. But I think colloquially...
Sorry, I did not get that.
Which one?
I think my network is bad. I didn't get what she was saying.
And I also have a question after here.
Yeah, so I think she was just trying to say that, like, if you're using religion in that definition where there is no supernatural being or something, like you have to like use it in a very loose way. So it's not really. Did I get you right, Azili?
Yeah.
Yes, you did. I was saying, like, in the instance of how we have stan culture now. Stan culture can be classified as some kind of religious following of a person, but as long as that person is not superhuman, it cannot strictly be called a religion. You understand? Because the concept of religion is that there has to be some, I keep saying superhuman, but like that's just the clearest word I have for it. There has to be some superhuman order that you are worshipping, that you are following, that you are basing your ideals on. And as long as that isn't there, our use of the word religion there is a loose adaptation.
I think the word religious and religiously changes colloquially. I think language does that, right? It evolves and that's what happens. So we can't even, as much as I understand the definition of religion you're given, but I think we can know when somebody, new religions come up every time. They're not all revolving around supernatural deities. Some of them are revolving around inanimate objects, and there are a bunch of things required. I think one of the things for me that does that makes something religious is a dogmatic following of anything really. Collective dogmatic following. That's where for me we enter into religion.
So
Okay.
the idea
We have to
religion.
we have to wrap up with this part so that we can go to other people that would like to speak. So please go on.
Okay. The idea of religion as the literal meaning still attains to the belief in a supernatural being. Now, when you're not talking about dogmatic following, if it's in a literal human being, we call it a religious cult. Religious because it follows the pattern of religion. Doesn't make it an official religion. It's just that they have everything that you'd classify as a religion, but the basis of having a supernatural being is missing. So that's why you call it a religious cult, not a religion. So whether or not you're going to classify something as a religion does not have to do with, like I say, the evolution of language. Fine, the language can evolve over time, but right now, where we are right now, religion is still the belief in a supernatural being. If it's now going to be in some sort of, human being or whatever inanimate philosophy, then you now start looking at pseudosciences and cults that sort of follow the pattern of religion but don't make the mark that is religion. So that's what I was going to say.
All
right.
So next
Yeah,
is
thank you very much.
Enori, then Kweku.
Nori. Oh, is it Nori first or quick?
Yeah, she was in and out, so I think then Kweku.
Okay. All right, Nori, go on. I hope we are pronouncing your name well.
Yeah, you are. I actually didn't request to speak. I just got in the room, so I'm trying to figure out what's going on here, and once I get a sense of what's going on, I might jump in.
All right, Kweku.
Okay. Well, thank you. So, the topic is Christianity is not a religion, and I don't know if Christianity is not a religion, then what else is it? Because I think the very definition, it's almost as if Christianity birthed the word religion, almost. But because it's an English word that kind of seems to include what Christianity does, and as it cuts across the rest of the world, sees similar behaviors, it has become a categorical kind of language now. But Christianity is, by definition, a religion. So I don't know how we are going to square this circle.
The reason for the question is we always hear, I believe in God, I have a relationship, but I don't practice religion. I don't believe in pastor. I don't know. Quick, have you heard such statements?
I don't do religion.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I have. And it's just, again, it's people trying to rationalize what they are actually fighting in their head to not be true. So they're kind of trying to shave off a little bit of their humanity to conserve it instead of trying to be all Christianity. Because if they really had to practice Christianity, which is not a set of ideas, but a way of belief, there's some things you must do. It's not up for debate. So, they want to pull themselves from the rituals that is involved in some of the tenets, but essentially it is a religion. Those excuses are just cop-outs, and I think we should call it as what it is.
Exactly.
All right, thank you. So, Nori, do you understand what is going on now? Would you like to maybe add something?
Yeah, I think I second that. I think that Christianity is a religion. I think when people say I don't do religion, they probably mean they don't, because in the sense of it, I think when I was a Christian, what Christianity was meant to be is a set of principles, like loosely based principles and all of that. I think that because of the way it's evolved and become something negative over time, people try to dissociate themselves from that negativity and only cling to the positive side of things, which is I do good, I do that. But I don't go to church. They want you to know that they don't, succumb to the scam of paying tithes and first fruits and all of that. So I think it's just a way to differentiate themselves from other people of the same religion that have had the negativity painted on them. But it is all religion.
I kind of disagree with that. Like I said earlier, from my experience with people who have said Christianity is not a religion, it's a relationship with God. These are not people who have stopped going to church or who have realized the scam of pastors and all of that. It's generally people who still very much adhere to the Christian doctrine, they do the Christian thing, but they do not want to be associated with
But
the word
sorry,
religion because, yeah,
Azili, you use the word doctrine. That is religion. Like if you use the word
yeah,
doctrine,
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, that they still do the doctrine, but they do not want to be associated with the word religion because of the negativity that has come to surround it. Because now religion comes with things like herd mentality and just blind following and stuff like that. They don't want to be associated with that, but they still want to do the religious things without the negativity attached. So they would say that they are not a religion, they are a relationship. Because if you're going to say they're not subscribing to things like church and tithe and stuff like that, you have those people that would say they are not religious, they are spiritual. Their spirituality is still linked to Yahweh and the Christian God, but they do not follow the Bible as well as much. They do not follow pastors and things like that. But these are different from the ones that say Christianity is not a religion. Those ones do not want to be associated with other religions like Islam, Buddhism, all of that, because, well, Christianity is the whole purpose of it is that Yahweh is the only one, Yahweh is the real one. And if the others are calling themselves religion, then there's no way Christianity is a religion because Christianity is special. That's I think that's my position on it. That's from what I
Yeah.
hear people say. That's what I feel like it is.
Well,
Yeah, and I
personally,
think that
wait, sorry.
sorry, I think there's just a spectrum
Yeah,
of
exactly.
people and why they choose to say that. So for some of them that I know, they don't go to church. They don't do. Some of them that I know, they do go to church. So I think it's just a spectrum, and it's or a set of different buckets of people and what they believe versus how they identify. Sorry, I interrupted somebody speaking.
Big Daddy, Big
Yeah,
Daddy,
so
Big Daddy.
okay.
Yeah, Big Daddy here one more time. See, just a a deviation slightly, and I wouldn't even take up to 2 minutes. This Olu of Worry guy that was just brought in his coronation. Yeah. I haven't watched the entire thing, right? I don't know if you guys have seen the Olu of Worry thing, but I haven't watched the entire thing. But I just saw highlights here and there, and maybe like 1 minute highlights, 2 minute highlights, and it was a beautiful ceremony, but I think what stood out to me was how this guy like turned the whole coronation thing to a praise and worship service. And I kind of felt bad, not just for him,
Wow.
but for Africa. I felt bad for Africa. It's like we have become extinct. It's like our originality is missing. I felt so bad. Like I can't get myself to even find the full clip and watch it. I can imagine how his ancestors would be looking at him and be like, "Man, are you serious?" Because now this is not me even trying to say that whatever his forefathers were or his fathers were practicing was right. I'm not saying that. I am not religious, right? I'm not a Christian. I'm an atheist. But I feel so bad how Africa has been so demonized. Like, I think the only thing that is existent in Africa is its resources. Other than that, that which makes us Africans is gone. our religion, our language is slowly going, is dying away. I felt so bad. I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional, but like, damn, like,
And older people will gladly let it go. Sorry.
yeah, like, I don't
Beg,
know,
I have a
man.
question for you when you're done.
Okay, I don't know, man. I don't know, but it was painful to watch. I just saw the guy, singing some recent, worship song, maybe that, those in the Obodo just released, and he was in tears, crying, and people in the crowd were shouting, and you couldn't hear any native drums. All you would hear is the piano, the guitar. I'm like, damn, what is happening here, man? Like, how did we get here? How did we get here? I'm sorry, man. I've derailed the whole this thing, but I'm sorry. I just wanted to point it out. I apologize.
Wow.
You shock me.
So I have a question. Um,
Yeah, please go ahead and ask your question.
with issues of spirituality and religion, I don't consider myself an atheist because I I believe in the existence of a supernatural being, which is God. All right. What I don't side with is the the differentiation when it comes to I'm a Christian, I'm a Muslim, um even now they even mention if you are filling forms and you tap on religion, you see Catholicism as part of a religion now in some forms and other stuff. But then I consider myself as an agnostic person who believes that there's existence of God but questions religion. Now, as
Okay,
agnosticism,
would you say you are would you call yourself a deist? Like, since you sort of believe in a God, but you don't believe in you don't believe that God is any God of any religion. So I think
yes, exactly,
okay.
I don't
Okay.
believe that my God is a God that abides by favoritism, where he, like, I still go back to how I started from, where he makes these people his favorite,
Sorry,
and then these
can I
people.
come in?
I have questions for you, Fafa.
I'm sorry, Mavic. You've not spoken at all. So we are going to get to you. So let's just finish up with this pass quickly. So yeah, Fafa, you said you have a question, but
Yeah.
did you get a question from it?
Yeah. So do do you think that somebody who is agnostic as me, do you think that uh you consider me spiritual or religious? Where would you put me? Because I know I'm not atheist because I know there's God, I know there's religion, but then where I'm indifferent about is the fact that I know that my God is not doesn't have a tag when it comes to
Fafa, can you describe your God?
Yeah, that is at least that would
good
help
question.
us a bit.
Yeah, good question. So it's like look at you when you go to rent an apartment. All right, you don't know who built that apartment, but you live in it. Do you understand?
Mhm.
And that's how I see this one.
So okay,
Definitely,
let's
somebody
let's let's
created.
stick with like is your God male or female?
He has no gender.
Okay, you just wait.
He or
You
she,
just
he or she has no gender.
sorry. Let's have some order.
He has no gender.
He or she has no
You
gender. He's not
okay?
human. He's not human. He's not alien. I have no
You're
idea, but
funny.
I know that I didn't come into
Okay,
this
wait.
world.
I want to ask you one question. Sorry,
Yeah,
everyone, please. Why exactly do you believe in this creator? Like, what is your reason?
because I know that I didn't come out into this world out of nothing. Like this is not just rocket science. It didn't just come to me.
Okay,
Something
okay.
put stuff together, and that is what I believe that it maybe
Said
the way
So
you
the
okay,
way
wait,
the
were
way
owned by your
wait. I'm
parents.
coming. Sorry,
Father
the
sorry,
way
sorry.
Everyone, one house.
One house, please. Yeah. So you said like you didn't just come out of nothing. Okay, I understand how that is intuitive,
yeah
but
yeah.
apart from AI being a creator, don't you think there are other
because I don't use God. I use a supernatural being because, I looked at what science says about the Big Bang Theory, and I find potholes in it. Now, I'm not the kind of people that will say this is a mystery and this is beyond human intuition, because like I said, God gave us the common sense to think. Do you understand? So when I see myself, I just feel like how I'm here with all the senses that I have, with my being, seeing people who look like me. I know that somebody put this into motion. But then I also have a question that I question myself always: who brought that thing into motion? So it's just like, who brought who?
Good
Who brought who?
question.
So I question myself, but then I just let it go at the end of the day that somebody somewhere started this ripple effect. But as to who, I don't know. I don't call him God, but I know it's bigger than me, and that's what I believe.
Charlie, let me ask you.
Can I come in, please?
Okay.
I
Okay,
think
Maverick.
wait. Let's have an order. Like if you want to respond to Papa, okay. Let me let Maverick go first. Maverick, please go first and respond, since you wanted to talk. Since.
Okay. Fafa, your idea of a supernatural being is faulty. You're always using the he, who. There's not a who in how the word came to be. There's not a who. There's not a somebody. That's the mistake we keep making. As in, you try to ascribe how we came into being in this world to something that is likened to be like a human or some sort like that. You've forgotten that there are other animals who you may think that they are lesser or of lesser importance to the world, but they are of equal importance as we are. You get, just because we have higher intellect doesn't mean that we are better off than these other animals. Some of them even behave better than we do. But then, because we created God in our own image, yes, I'll always say that God was created in man's image. And ever since man created God, man has always known problem. From the inception of the idea God, man has always known problem. Man's excuse for being stupid, for being irrational, for being illogical has been God and devil. We are always looking for a scapegoat, either way we look at it. So this your you don't know that there's a supernatural being. If okay, let me just tell you this now. If that you were given birth to and nobody fed you with the story of a God creating the world, would you have known about any God?
Okay,
The answer is no.
I'm just
If
going to let you talk, and
the truth is, if you were not fed with the whole story of God created the world, God created the heaven and the earth, you would not know about any God. The word God is a title, yes, and a title given to a creator, right? But then this whole idea of God is man's concept, is man's um way of explaining away his ignorance about how the world came to be. Nobody knows how the world came to be. Everybody is making their own assumptions that okay, this is how the world came to be. God molded some sand and breathed into it, and life life happened. Then he took the rib of one man and created the woman, and that's how life came to be. Then there's the Big Bang theory. Then there's the one where we came from a single cell, a multiple. We start the cell starts multiplying and all that. These are ideas. You get, these are people's own thinking of how the world came to be. Nobody knows the actual beginning of this world. But saying that your own God is this and that, is a somebody, is a who, there's a who to how the world came to be, is a big lie. And what you believe in has no consequence on what is going to happen in real life. Your belief does not in any way affect reality. That's just the truth. No matter what you want to believe in, it's fine to believe, but believing alone does not do anything for us. So that's your idea of there's a who in creation, or there's a who in how the world came to be, is really, really faulty.
All right. So
That's my
I would
take.
like us to like thank you very much for your submission, Maverick. I would like us to like wrap up with that part so that we can just go back to the topic of the room. So is there any other person that wants to like say something on what Fafa said?
Sorry,
Yeah,
I needed to add something. Are they saying Christianity is not a religion, or
No,
I don't understand
you know, a lot of okay. The thing is that a lot of Christians will tell
the
like you tell
question
them
mark. Are you
like
or
a lot of Christians will tell you that no, we are not having a like Christianity is not a religion. Some of them will say it's a way of life, some will say it's a relationship and all that. So
Christianity
that is what this room is about. We are trying to say what
is a
exactly does
big
that mean? Does that really make sense?
thing.
So that's what we're talking about.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Christianity is a religion. End of story.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Azili, what did you want to say?
okay. I wanted to respond to Fafa's question. He started by asking if we would classify him as religious or spiritual. And to start with, I would say that I would classify him as spiritual since he no longer follows the particular doctrines of the religion he was indoctrinated to, or any particular religion that exists right now. His position about the creator, however, I feel like is based on the religion he was indoctrinated in and has removed himself from. I feel like we've all gone through that transitionary phase where we were questioning everything. And I feel like that's where he is right now. So he has left behind the practices and the ideas that come with it, but he still has the idea of, having been created by a singular person for a singular reason. And to that I say there doesn't have to be a person. There doesn't have to be a reason that you're here. We all found ourselves here. We're all trying to figure out what we're doing here, and how to best spend the time that we've got here. But it doesn't mean that somebody made you and somebody puts you here. There doesn't have to be a person behind it. There's no puppeteer pulling the strings. That's all I have to say.
Can I chip in?
Please go ahead. Please do.
Okay. The idea of spirituality is I'm still kind of hazy and dazed about it. When it says it's religion and spirituality. What's spirituality without a religion? I don't think
Well,
I've not. Yeah,
It's
I'm listening.
crazy. As in,
spirituality is like what Fafa was describing. Like you believe that there is something more than humans, something bigger than humans, but you do not actually worship it. You do not
Okay.
But
structure
what
your
makes
life
a
according
Can
to
I
spiritual
it.
say?
though?
The fact
All
you
right.
just said the word belief has already made whatever kind of idea become a religion already.
But wait, Benjamin, I think you should look at the vagueness though. Like if I think someone talking about spirituality, the person is there is no specificity to it, or I don't know how to put it, but
Yeah,
I
Yeah,
Yeah, we
like
need
I,
more
I,
spirituality
application
could
on
say
the
like
thing is, the thing
witchcraft
is,
is real.
if we
Mm-hmm.
if we if we if we if we want to say spirit, if we want to use that term spirit and term some things to be spiritual, or the way some people feel to be spiritual, then we should first get to know how the word or the meaning of the word spiritual or what it entails. If we say it's not a religious thing, but it's a spiritual thing, then we are also go and we accept it as as an accepted means of explaining something. Then we are lying to ourselves because there is nothing spiritual without a belief pattern. There's nothing spirit. There's no spirit without a belief or tied to a belief precept. You get
Now,
the
I
moment
think where you're
because the
mistaken
truth
is,
is,
I think
I'm
where you're
listening.
mistaken is that you think that everything that involves a belief has to be religious. You do not have to be religious to believe
Can we
something.
define the word religious?
Do you know what religion is, and do you know what belief? As in, if
Okay,
you
let
understand
me
what
just
religion
let me
is,
try to help out here.
having a set of belief system makes you religious. It doesn't have to be Christian. It doesn't
Religious,
have to be.
simple. Or
You don't have to be
Muslim or something. Yes, thank you.
It's a belief or belief system here, because I think we're starting to thread the gray lines. Like, I'm agnostic, right? So I don't, I won't definitively say there is or there is no God. I think there is a force. I think there is something. I don't want to label what that thing is. It could be a force, it could be a person, it could be a being, it could be a deity. I think there is something inexplicable out there, but I do not consider myself religious. And because I don't sit outside my backyard in the sun at 7 a.m., opening my arms, and, I don't consider myself religious either. I just choose to go about my life saying, okay, there is something, I don't know what it is. Maybe there isn't. Maybe it's in my head. But I think the fact that I do not definitively say there is no God and there is no force, I don't think that makes me religious or spiritual.
Okay, I
Can
Pastor
I
Oyedepo.
interject? Yeah,
That picture is
there is
answering me.
something. There's something
Wait,
out there
everybody,
actually.
everybody, please hold on, hold on,
Okay,
hold on.
there is something out
Who is
there
talk?
actually.
Sorry, Benjamin, forgive me. We have been sitting here, but Bright
Yeah.
has been silent. I do not know. Let us not be unfair. I have been saying Bright very silent.
Yeah,
Okay.
Bright, no one talk.
so that we can move on, please.
I'm just listening to
Okay.
the different opinion and stuff. But
Okay.
my take is this: it's hard to find reason, or logic with religious ideas. So it's very hard. Sometimes it's hard to accept. After being so deep into religion and stuff for so many years, so it becomes like really difficult for you to look yourself in the mirror and be like, I've been fooled all this time, or maybe you haven't been fooled, but so that transition between being deep into religion and not being religious takes people into different journeys. So that's when you have people going through journeys like, I don't really believe in the pastor. Like maybe 2 years back you were believing in the pastor. Now you've taken a step. So now I'm not. I don't really believe in the pastor. I don't really think you have to go to church to be connected to God. Then you take a step further, and then you're like, okay, I don't really think you need to have a specific belief in God to be able to exist, and then you just find so many different comforting ideas to keep yourself comfortably in a state whereby you are not really able to let go of religion completely. And then because there is still that fear, the initiation into religion is like one of the most difficult things, and it's like sometimes one of the worst things that have happened to people as human beings growing up. The whole fear, the whole idea of punishment and the reward that comes with it, and things like that will make it so that people can't really, no matter how convinced they have been, they've gotten, they can't really have the boldness to concretely say out. So sometimes we just have to, understand that transition and then let people have their, because I think each of us have had or are still in that journey. So let people be able to express that process. So, but for me, I'm more like, I have my opinions and I have my perspective on these things, but also I like to learn So I do a lot of listening and more of questioning than I will actually put out my perspective, unless a perspective that I really that I've really thought of for a long period of time, and then come to a concrete conclusion and would like to see what others think of that. And to the topic of spirituality versus religion, when you think of religion, you think of an organized system of beliefs and stuff like that, like practices and things. One person can't stand to be a religion. Like you can't just stand by yourself and be a religion. For you to be a religion, it has to be like you have to have like a guiding principles that so many people are following. And if you are religious, that means you are part of that guiding principles. And then as far as spirituality is concerned, it can be an individual thing. So you don't have to be religious to be spiritual. So one can be spiritual. I'm not spiritual because I don't really know how to define that in terms of my own life. But one can be spiritual because they choose to have this certain belief that they have that kind of connects them to maybe the universe, or connects them into their spiritual self, or connects them to their soul. And if one has that as an individual and stuff like that, it doesn't make that doesn't hold as a religion. It can't be recognized as a religion, because that's just you versus yourself type of stuff. So I feel for me that's the difference between like religion and spirituality.
All right.
I agree with you.
Sorry, can I say something? Can I please say something?
Okay, Benjamin, go.
I hope you're going to be
First
very
of all,
fast.
yeah, I'll try. First of all, we should come to a terms where we demystify ourselves of the fact that religion must be followed by a crowd. The term religion, you alone can practice your own religion. We should demystify ourselves of that.
So,
You can practice your own
It
religion.
doesn't work like that.
sorry, Benjamin.
Listen,
I wanted to say something to what you just said now. But somebody can believe in a deity and they don't worship, they don't do any sort of thing that
no,
they
listen,
don't do any ritual to that deity. I don't think that would make sense to be called a religion.
listen. Belief in a thing, it doesn't have to be a deity, it might be a process, it might be a pattern, it might be an ideology. But the moment you have belief to it, science, yes.
I feel you are defining
Absolutely.
religion too loosely. Like the way you are defining religion is almost losing its meaning, and it doesn't have any specific sense anymore.
That's the problem we all have when we want to tell ourselves these things. And that's why I keep saying again that sometimes we choose to lie to ourselves. I'm not judging anybody here, but sometimes just to be comfortable enough to move on, we choose to lie to ourselves.
Definition for religion.
I think we would have to move on from here. So maybe we'll come back to this topic, but let new people in the room speak.
Jaden is here. Jaden is here.
Mr. Jaden, let us hear you.
To what he said.
Can you please just
let somebody shout hallelujah.
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 Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Everybody, it's good to be here. I bring good tidings in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ.
Okay, the winers.
Yeah, sorry, Mike. My network is a little bit bad, so
okay.
you guys just manage. I mean, it's been a fun discussion. Good to see everyone once again, though both those on the stage and those in the what's it called, the audience. I don't know. Yeah, it's cool to see everyone. So, Christianity is not a religion. I was actually thinking that since there are very few theists on stage, maybe I'll just do the devil's advocate, or maybe God's advocate, and try to be a theist for tonight. But no problem. Okay, how do I win on this? So for us to be able to answer this question adequately, it behoves us to define what Christianity is, and then to define what religion is. So many people have different ways of defining Christianity.
Am I the one cut off?
We stop hearing you.
No, we are not all hearing him.
It seems like Satan doesn't want us to listen to Pastor Jide.
Yeah, come on, Ted.
He's already, he has gone, Abby. We're still here. Jide, can you hear us? Network, let's blame it on Glow.
Okay, can you guys hear me now?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
sure, yes.
My connection is very terrible tonight, so I don't know what's going on. Okay, but as I was saying, there are many. For us to be able to answer this question adequately, we would need to understand, to define both terms, the operative terms in the sentence. What is religion? What is Christianity? And I think, as many of us here would know, I mean, if you are an ex-Christian, for example, you will know that there are several denominations of Christianity. So it's very difficult to pin it down to just one thing. I mean, it's just, there's that, and that's a serious challenge. There are some schools of Christianity that don't consider other schools of Christianity to be bona fide. They think those ones are going to hell. They're not true Christians, things like that. So, but I think there is such a thing called mere Christianity, MERE Christianity,
C.S.
which is
Lewis.
C.S. Lewis, exactly. Which is basically, what would all Christians agree upon? Like, what would basically all Christians agree upon? And I think that if I were to sum up a proposition that all Christians would have, maybe not unanimous agreement, maybe not universal agreement, but something close to that, something more like a huge consensus. It would be, the idea that there is a God, and that God revealed himself in the person of Jesus Christ, and that somehow Jesus is the way to God. Jesus is a very valid way. It's like the big way to God, the main way to God, or whatever it is, however it is you want to phrase it. So, of course, there are things that follow on the heels of this. It entails certain beliefs, it entails certain practices that you are, so to speak, expected to, show as fruits of your Christianity and things like that. When you look at it from that light, at least to me, I would say that it is indeed a religion. Now, again, like I said, one has to define what religion is for them to be able to make a coherent statement about this. Some time ago, I think it was last year, someone asked a question on Twitter, Mary Ekaite, that's at Cerebralistic, for those of you who might know her. So she said, and I quote, "In your own words and without consulting outside sources, Google, books, other people, etc., how would you define religion?" And this was my response to that question that day. So, quote, "Religion is a set of beliefs and practices that centers on the idea that one or more supernatural forces exist. Humans can connect with these forces. The forces can act through human actions and desires as well as nature, and these forces determine ethics and right behavior." So for me, I think this definition encapsulates not just the, classical monotheisms, those are the Abrahamisms, Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, but it would also be able to accommodate a lot of, Eastern religions and even some African religions. Why I think that this definition is important is that it doesn't really rely upon a belief in a God in the classical sense, a God in the sense that, okay, maybe God is a mind, or God is a person, or God has a will and interacts with people and stuff like that. A God that gets angry, a God that loves, a God that seeks prayers and stuff like that. it doesn't really rely on that presupposition. I define it once again as a set of beliefs and practices that centers on the idea that one or more supernatural forces exist. So those forces might either be personal or impersonal, but whatever those forces are, the people who adhere to the doctrines of that religion will certainly believe that there are some kinds of for example, ethical demands that we have or ethical inclinations that we should be aligned toward in terms of what the forces in quotes would prescribe. I mean, prescription makes it sound like a mind as well, but I'm just using that for the sake of the argument, for the sake of the discussion, I should say, because once again, not all religions believe in a personal deity of that sort. Some just believe that there are some sort of impersonal forces, some, cosmic principle that guides what we ought to do, how we ought to behave, and stuff like that. And I think one of the things that's very essential to the concept of religion is a moral code of some sort. It might be it might be something very light. It might be something very, not too strong or too strict. But there's always this idea of this is the way to behave. This is the way the universe or God or some cosmic force wants you to behave. This is how you ought to be. This is what a person who's truly adhering to this tradition, who's truly following the principles of the universe or of the cosmic forces or whatever it is that they are. These and this and that are the kind of things that would be expected of such a person. I think that's something that's rather essential, at least to religions as we see them practiced in the world today, both in the West, in the East, and in Africa as well. So I
Jason,
think
can I
that
ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, how would you define spirituality then?
Yeah, the concept of spirituality, I mean, first of all, I'm an atheist. I might not be in the best place to define spirituality. But I think there's a slight difference in that spirituality usually doesn't come with the idea of a moral code. I think that's one thing that I would say is really different when it comes to identifying whether something is just spirituality or it's a religion per se. Like I said, religions can have very watered down moral codes. They can have very watered down expectations, but spirituality doesn't really concern itself with morality or ethics in general, how you ought to behave. It's just like it just sees ethics as something that's separate, completely separate from, this connection with the transcendent, this connection with the numinous aspect of nature, so to speak. That tends to be what spirituality is. Now, there are people who claim to be spiritual. They say, I am spiritual but not religious. But then such people pray. I don't think that people who say those things, people who say that and pray are being sincere. Either they're not being sincere or they don't really know what they're talking about. Because if you're praying, you're actually appealing to, of course, maybe people who don't, who actually pray in the spiritual in quote sense can let me know if I'm wrong on this. Well, I feel that if you're praying, you're trying to appeal to some kind of cosmic force to do something on your behalf. And of course, for you to be able to make a demand of a force, it must mean that you sort of presuppose that that force will have some kind of comprehension ability, the ability to listen and to act in line with instruction or with demand or with a plea or something like that. So I don't really consider, the point I'm trying to make is that I think spirituality is different from religion in the sense that spirituality really, most of the time, doesn't really have this idea of I'm praying or I'm trying to follow a certain rule or a certain code, or I have this kind of transcendent obeisance that I have to pay in some way. I think that's what I would consider to be the essential difference. One of the essential differences. There might be more if we get into that side of the discussion, but for me, that's it.
So,
Okay.
in both concepts, would you where would you put reward? Is there reward with both spirituality? Is there an expected reward? I mean, would you define if do spiritual people expect reward at the end of their spiritual journey, so to speak?
I don't, like I said, spirituality doesn't really concern itself with such things. What it just, at least, I mean, I'm, like I said, I'm not a spiritualist in that sense. So maybe if there's anyone here who considers themselves spiritual but not religious, they can speak for themselves on this. But I think this is my own hunch on the issue, that spirituality, as I understand it, doesn't really concern itself with things like, okay, what's going to happen after I die? Is there going to be some reward? Am I going to am I going to go to heaven or hell or something like that? Spirituality just says there's like some, extra dimension to nature, and somehow we can connect with it either via meditation or stuff like that. But we can't petition it to do stuff for us. It's not what decides how we live our lives or what kind of behaviors we engage in relative to our other, our fellow humans. Whereas in the case of religions, you have not just, this idea of a moral code, like I said, and also appeals to, petitionary prayers and intercessions and stuff like that. But also, you have concepts like heaven and hell. You have concepts like karma. And of course, many people, karma in popular culture is understood as, okay, if you do bad today, you get bad tomorrow, that kind of thing. But that's not really what karma is in Hinduism, for example. Karma is more like an aggregation of all the good deeds that you do in this life, which is going to contribute to the level that you will be at in your next life. I think that's what karma really is, at least as defined in Eastern religions. So, this idea of karma or reincarnation, as in, some Yoruba religion, for example, I think believes in reincarnation. That's why you have names like Babatunde, Babajide, Yetunde, Yejide, and stuff like that. So things like this, things like reincarnation or heaven and hell, reward systems where you sort of like have the things you do in this life have implications for what you get in your next life, whether that next life is in heaven or in hell, or whether it's your next life as a reincarnated, maybe animal or human being or whatever it is. So that's something that's also found a lot in religion, and I think it's not found so much in spirituality. So that would be another point of difference as well.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I saw.
So, moderator. Some people are flashing their mic.
Yeah. I saw Daddy Redepo has been flashing his mic since,
wait,
so I'm going to allow him.
Wait. Before Daddy goes, Semetin.
Okay.
Semetin hasn't spoken.
Okay, I saw Ifedolapo first. Semetin was down, so I didn't really see him. So I don't know who went first.
Semetin hasn't spoken.
So just take over. Yeah.
But please correct us if I'm butchering your name, please.
Okay. The right pronunciation is Semeton. Thank you.
All right.
Yes. Okay, so about the theme, which is Christianity is not a religion. I don't know. Personally, this is something I've thought, and I've thought about it in the past. And actually, there's this ebook I was writing at the point, and I dedicated a chapter for it. And this is more like the theme, like Christianity is not a religion rather than a lifestyle. And I feel that it's more of a development kind of a thing. Now, apparently, when you ask Christian, even a Christian that will claim that Christianity is not a religion, about other belief system, let's say Islam for instance, they won't hesitate to tell you something like Islam is a religion or any other thing is a religion, but they find ways to defend their Christianity as not being a religion, being a relationship with the Father, and all of those things. But to be very honest and to look at it from an historical point of view, I mean, back before the advent of the Protestant church, and even from there we have the evangelicals, because this thing is actually common in my own experience anyways, is much more common with evangelicals trying to, especially Pentecostals trying to say that, this is more like a relationship with the Father or with the Holy Ghost or something like that. So, in historical perspective, I don't think that the church, let's say the Catholic Church at the time, or the Orthodox at the time, they were really dominating. They were not shy to be called a religion. And what is a religion really? I mean, it's just like a belief system. And what we mean with belief system, what does it mean? It means that there's some things that you follow, like form of a code that is expected of anyone who subscribe to that particular belief system. All right, and the number of subscribers does not really matter, but most times you see that it's not one person but a group of people who believe in something, and they don't just believe it isolatedly. There are things that they follow. All right, and if you actually want to tabulate that against Christianity, it's, to be very honest, right? Because, for instance, every Christian must live by anything that is written in the Bible. Now, it's a different thing that you can interpret it differently and all of those things. But the point is that you should do everything within the context, any context you want to create, within the context of the Holy Scripture. You can't just do anything out of it. I mean, that says a lot about it. Okay, so doing something against whatever thing is written there, at least in your own understanding and whatever context you want to give it, is more like violating the rules and committing sin in quotes, whether it's forgivable or not. That's on that topic entirely. And in that light, when you look at it in a very honest perspective, it just falls right into it. I mean, it is a religion because there is a belief system. You want to pray, you have to pray in Jesus' name. You can't just decide to do any other thing, even if you in the name of that relationship that you're having, everything you still have to do is within the context of whatsoever thing has been given to you. I however feel that the reason why many people try to argue that Christianity is not a religion rather than a lifestyle is to kind of shy away from the responsibility that has been hung on any religion. Now, I feel that the word religion now has people try to stay away from it, because people will tell you that a whole lot of atrocity has been committed in the name of religion, and nobody wants that, because it seems to be a stain on the entire on their faith. And this is something that a whole lot of people hold preciously. People hold their faith preciously. They don't want anything to tamper with it, and they don't want any bad incident to be attributed to it, because that would mean like maybe it is not the truth. So people try to get it jealously, and that's my opinion anyways. I feel that that's why it's a psychological thing. I mean, you don't want to be associated with something bad, and religion is generally bad. I mean, when people will say that religion is the problem of the world, the reason why Christianity is so much, we have a lot of denomination, at least that was my argument too at that point anyways, is because people religion, not the relationship Christ has called us into. But the point is that it doesn't matter whether or not you call it relationship. People will still have divergent views. People are still going to have opposing views, and you're still going to have hundreds of denominations still pop up now and even in the nearest future, even if you decide not to call it religion, because in the end you are just trying to follow a particular pattern, and then you're trying to reinterpret it to suit whatever thing you want to do. So in that light, I feel that Christianity is in fact a religion. But I think we can just allow people to just define it whatever way they want to define it, at least so that they can feel good and happy about their life, as long as they are not causing problems with anybody anyways. They're free to define it as a relationship. But I really don't have an opinion on spirituality, because I to be honest, I feel that most of when people mention spirituality, I just couple it with religion, because I feel that it is only in that context that it makes sense. But with what Chidea said extensively, I don't even know. So maybe spirituality as a thing, or is only within the context of religion. I really don't have a view on that. But in the context of Christianity, I feel that, I mean, when you go through for instance, people might say that you can decide not to go to a church and all of those things, but the fact is that when you read through the Bible, you have to be there. Hebrews is it 10:25 or so, like, do not forsake the gathering of the brethren. I mean, these are things that you is expected of you as long as you're a Christian. And if you have to follow some things at the basic level because they are expected of you and it's part of your code, part of the faith, part of the belief in Christ, then apparently I think it's just logical enough. And just to be honest, it's just a religion, but we can just grant it if people have to define it some other ways to feel good about what they believe. So that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode. Please subscribe up on Apple, Spotify, Google, YouTube, and other podcast platforms. If you like to connect on Clubhouse, the links are in the show notes below. The different clubs we host these rooms are there in the show notes below. And have a great week, and I'll catch you on the next one.